Gang of costume nutjobs is taking the city apart piece by piece. Time I return the favor.
Spider-Man PS4's universe just got a whole lot more interesting. Anyways, welcome back, true believers and all you spectacular Spidey fans, to another really exciting Spider-Man PS4 related video. And even though nothing new is being added to the game itself, there is something really exciting going on within Marvel Comics that does relate to Marvel's Spider-Man in general. And if you haven't kept up with the Spider-Man PS4 news, it was confirmed a couple months ago that there was going to be a tie-in comic book series to Spider-Man PS4 called Marvel's Spider-Man City at War. Now, a narrative tie-in to Spider-Man PS4 isn't anything new, since we did receive the prequel novel to Spider-Man PS4 called Hostile Takeover, and we did see him be featured within the recent Spider-Geddon series. However, City at War is different compared to these other storylines because it does tell a narrative that is similar to the game itself, while also expanding within the game's universe by telling stories from the other characters' perspectives. And alongside of that, the team behind this story, with mainly the writer of Dennis Hallam, is extremely passionate about the game itself and really excited to be telling the story of the game in a really cool way. And to go more in depth with this comic overall, we did receive a really awesome preview from Marvel going over the first 5 panels of the first issue of the story of City at War. And even more so, we did get some really awesome info from Dennis himself going over the story and what we can expect with this comic series. And if you do go on Marvel's website, they did post an article a few days ago going over the comic series by saying, "Press start on a brand new universe with Marvel's Spider-Man City at War. Writer Dennis Hopeless Hallam previews the brand new comic series coming March 20th. Spin into an all-new and unexpected web of drama, spectacle, and classic Spidey action in the mighty Marvel manner with Marvel's Spider-Man City at War." And throughout this interview, there are some really interesting insights from Dennis himself talking about really interesting aspects about the City at War series overall. And as the interview goes, Marvel asks Dennis to start, give us the rundown on this new 6-issue series and what we can expect from issue number 1. And Dennis goes on to say, first and foremost, this is a classic Spider-Man story. Peter Parker is being yanked in 5 different directions all at once, trying to balance Spider-Man, his job at Octavius Industries, mounting debt, and his ever-complicated relationship with ex-girlfriend Mary Jane. That's a lot of responsibility, even for Peter, and lately he seems to fail as often as he succeeds. Meanwhile, the new villain in town seems hell-bent on descending New York into shadowy chaos. Marvel's Spider-Man City at War is a unique project because it's equal parts exploration and introduction. We're adapting the massive PS4 game story into a 6-issue comic book series, but that's just the jumping off point. We're also introducing readers to this new Spider-Man universe and exploring that in ways that the game did not. Our goal is to be equally entertaining for gamers with 80 Marvel Spider-Man hours under their belt and for comic fans who have never held a controller. And as the interview continues, Marvel asks Dennis, the Marvel Spider-Man game has been very well received, but what made it such a great candidate for a comic book story? And as Mr. Hallam says, the game is addictive, gorgeous, and just chock full of story. Playing it, you really feel like you are Spider-Man. Insomniac Games, PlayStation, and Marvel Games did such a great job reimagining Spider-Man's world and the fascinating characters within. What we get to do is flesh all those characters out. We climb inside Peter's head and look around, tell MJ's side of the story, and walk a few dozen blocks around in Miles' shoes. There's so much cool action and character in the game, and we get to put a new spin on it. Also, we're building the comic book version of this universe, which will allow us to tell all kinds of new stories going forward. And with a really interesting question to follow that up, Marvel asks, what would you say to a potential reader who's never played the game? And in a wholehearted great response, Mr. Hallam says this series is all about establishing the world and exploring it. We're coming at the video game beats from all new angles and have added a lot to make sure gamers have plenty to enjoy. But you don't need to have played the game to read the book. The whole story will be right there in the pages. Then, if you want, you can go play the story as it unfolds in the video game. And moving on with the interview, Marvel asks Dennis, as a seasoned comic writer, what was the biggest challenge in tackling a project like this? What was the best part? And in a wonderfully put answer, Mr. Hallam says, right off the bat, I knew the challenge was going to be creating a version of this story that would be a fun read for gamers too. What can a comic book do that a video game can't? The answer is all about the characters. The game gives you a taste of all these fantastic people and relationships in Peter's life. The comic lets us bring them all to life even further. We get to linger a lot longer in that personal space, leave the camera running or move it somewhere completely new. And to add on a very interesting question from Marvel, they asked Dennis any new twists and turns to look out for. Can you tease any? And as Mr. Hallam states, one of the fun things we're doing in the first few issues is shifting the POV away from Peter. Fans of the game know that during certain missions, players get to play as Mary Jane or Miles Morales. We've taken that idea and run with it for the book. Issue number 3 gives Mary Jane the spotlight. Peter is obviously still the protagonist, and this is largely his story, but Miles and MJ are very important, so we've given them a chance to shine. And as we get to the last couple of questions with this interview, we get a question from Marvel asking Dennis, what about this book makes it great for those of us who don't dabble in virtual web slinging? And as Mr. Hallam states, at its core, City at War is a classic self-contained Spider-Man story with absolutely gorgeous art from Michelle Bandini. This is Kingpin throwing his weight around. This is Norman Osborn scheming. This is Peter Parker hoping to win back Mary Jane Watson. It's everything you love about Spider-Man, just a cool new version. And as for Marvel's last question, they go and ask Dennis, speaking of Michelle, what can readers expect from the art in this book? And as Mr. Hallam states, Michelle's pages are absolutely stunning. He absolutely captures the breathtaking open-world realism of the game, but with incredible style and energy. I've been blown away by these pages. Fans are going to flip. And with the final statement from Dennis, every Spidey fan should check this book out. We're setting up a really exciting new world based on the blockbuster mega hit video game everyone already loves. There's an opportunity here for a lot of great stories. Come get in on the ground floor. And in case you don't know, you are able to pre-order Marvel's Spider-Man City at War issue 1 right now and then be able to pick it up on March 20th. And given everything Dennis stated during this interview, I can guarantee you that this is going to be a really exciting story to read through. If you guys know me by now, you probably know that I love almost everything about Spider-Man PS4, ranging from its gameplay, graphics, and especially with its story. So seeing that Spider-Man PS4 is actually receiving its own standalone comic book series, unlike its tie-in event with Spider-Geddon or like a novel with Hostile Takeover, I think this is going to be a really awesome story to read through. Especially seeing what Dennis said about the story points within the series, that we are going to get some moments with Miles and MJ being the forefront of the certain issue. And knowing what great moments we did get with MJ and Miles in the main game, I'm really excited to see where they're going to take their characters in this series. And who knows, even though these first panels pretty much show the first few hours of the game, I really hope that there may be some teases as to what we could expect in the near future of this series with a possible sequel. And once again, if you are a huge fan of Spider-Man PS4 like I am, I highly recommend that you go and check out this series once it does release. But anyways guys, that's the video that I have for you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. What do you think about Marvel's Spider-Man City at War so far, and are you going to pick it up once it does release on March 20th? For me, everything I'm hearing about this series sounds great so far, and the art itself looks absolutely gorgeous, so I can't wait to see more of it once it does fully release. And even though this is a 6-issue series for Spider-Man PS4, if it does well, I really hope that we do get more types of comics relating to the game, because that would just be totally awesome. But until next time, true believers, thank you all so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.
I'd call that a mild success.
I call that unbelievable.